In a fraction of the time it had taken for them to grow to power, the Overits were exiled to the corners of the Abyss, and lordship of the realm passed to the Tenari. For many ages, these heritors of the Abyss bickered over who could claim the title of Prince of Demons. Two particularly powerful Tenari rapidly rose to prominence, and all soon knew it would be either Orcus or Grast who would claim this prize, and yet, in their struggles against each other, neither saw the strange and deformed shadow approaching from the wet and forgotten depths of the Abyss. For in the shadow of planar wars and rise of new races, the first malformed accident had grown strong. None were prepared for his arrival, and none could withstand his power when he claimed the title Prince of Demons for his own. Dozens of the most powerful Tenari lords assaulted this new form, eager to put him down, but one after another they fell, their bodies rotting and life forces shattered. In moments, the new Prince of Demons reduced the number of Tenari lords by a dozen, and those who survived knew they stood in the shadow of true power. Even mighty Orcus and Grast were forced to kneel, their resources spent from their own wars against one another. For standing before them in all his terrible glory was the first, the primal Tenari. And while the demon host rankled and roared at his arrival, none dared raise fist or claw against the new prince. Demogorgon had claimed his throne. Before we get into it though, this video is brought to you by Grimhollow, the Monster Grimoire. I told you guys last week that it was happening, and it is finally here. The monster manual for the Grimhollow campaign setting is here on Kickstarter. With over 400 monsters themed for a dark grim setting, the Monster Grimoire will also bring a new addition to monster manuals, that is, suggested salvage. Long gone are the days when your party defeats a beholder and you as a DM have no clue what type of treasure that beholder has, or even how much could a beholder eye be sold for or used for. I mean, you guys hear me talk about this sort of thing on my videos all the time, how frustrating it can be that the lore of D&D is rich with stories about how valuable purple worm eggs are or how magically potent the scales of dragons can be, yet in the monster manual they don't give you any kind of price points or guide into how to use those monster parts. Well, Grimhollow's Monster Grimoire has suggested treasure and detailed methods for monster part harvesting, which is, by the way, great for dark campaign settings. But one of the coolest things for me with the Grimhollow guys is, to be frank, their art, which is surreal how good it is. Here you can see some of the art that they have already used for the Grimoire. That was one of the big things that caught my attention about them for their original campaign setting. It was how insanely good their art is. It is the sort of art that just feels good to give to your players as a handout, which is always amazing. Now go over to the Kickstarter and check it for yourself. The link is in the comment section and the video description. Oh, by the way, I'm also making a few monsters for the Grimoire, and they are amazing, so you cannot miss out on this. But now, back to the video. Here we have it, the Demogorgon video. It is a bit early since we haven't quite reached the Abyss yet, but I wanted to give you guys a little treat for liking the videos, so keep liking them, I appreciate it. So, first of all, who is Demogorgon? So, back when Dungeons & Dragons was played, not for roleplay, but simply as a tactical RPG back in 1st edition, Demogorgon was simply the monster with the most HP, the toughest grape on the bunch. He was the guy to beat. And then, of course, the Tarrasque came out later on and supplanted him, but the tradition still stands. Demogorgon is one of the most powerful singular creatures in Dungeons & Dragons. In fact, in 5th edition, there is no creature of higher challenge rating than Demogorgon other than the Tarrasque, with Orcus and Zariel sharing his level. Of course, we're not counting actual gods. Now, for such a powerful archetypal paragon of demons, you would be surprised to know that for 5th edition, we really only have 4 small paragraphs of lore for this guy. Now, to be fair, he does have a campaign where he features prominently, but the actual amount of information we get about him is abysmally low, no pun intended. We get this information from both Out of the Abyss and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Both books have the exact same entry with the same stats, so let's quickly go through it. Prince of Demons, the sibilant beast and master of the spiraling depths, Demogorgon is the embodiment of chaos, madness, and destruction, seeking to corrupt all that is good and undermine order in the multiverse, to see everything dragged howling into the infinite depths of the abyss. The Demon Lord is a meld of different forms, with a saurian lower body and clawed, webbed feet, as well as suckered tentacles sprouting from the shoulders of a great ape-like torso, surmounted by two hideous simian heads, named Amael and Hathrodaya, both equally mad. Their gaze brings madness and confusion to any who confront it. Now, so far, this is all very interesting. This guy is really cool. The madness part is particularly intriguing because of how powerful it is. Here, check it. It says that the spiraling Y sign of Demogorgon's cult can inspire madness on those who contemplate it for too long. All the followers of the Prince of Demons go mad sooner or later. This is actually the reason why the cult of Demogorgon is so small, but also the reason why more cultists of Demogorgon are actually not human, but they don't tell you that, of course. We'll get there though. And lastly, down here, they talk about his realm in the Abyss. Demogorgon makes his lair in a palace called Abyssum, found on a layer of the Abyss known as the Gaping Maw. Demogorgon's lair is a place of madness and duality. The portion of the palace that lies above water takes the form of two serpentine towers, each crowned by a skull-shaped minaret. There, Demogorgon's heads contemplate the mysteries of the arcane while arguing about how best to obliterate their rivals. The bulk of this palace extends deep underwater in chill and darkened caverns. And now there's a crazy reason why his lair is in the water and why Demogorgon is a very aquatic demon lord, yet they don't actually tell you that. There's a really interesting reason why he has a swimming speed. There's also an enormous capital city in his realm of the Gaping Maw. In fact, it is one of the most populated cities in the entirety of the Abyss, but they don't tell you that either. In here, they said that both heads of Demogorgon are equally mad, but is that really true? Now, I can tell you that they are not equal in almost anything, and Demogorgon's greatest enemy is in fact himself. Also, lastly here, it says that he has a regional effect where he can overpopulate a region with lizards, snakes, and other venomous beasts. Now that feels kinda random, doesn't it, for a demon lord of this kind? Well, all of this is without context, so let's go ahead and give that context. Let's talk about what 5th edition did not tell you about Demogorgon. Demogorgon is a demon lord and has the title of the Prince of Demons. But what exactly does this mean? A demon lord is essentially a demon that has obtained power over at least a single layer of the Abyss. Now, some layers are smaller than others, but conquering them requires a bit more than just being the only one alive there at the time. Becoming the master of a layer is a thing of power, as it grants you the ability to morph and shift that layer into it becoming anything you want. If you achieve that power and control a layer, you then become a demon lord. But see, the easiest way to become a demon lord is to kill one and absorb its essence, and that's why there is constant infighting amongst demons and demon lords, and that's why the title of Prince of Demons exists. The Prince of Demons is the lord of all demons, or more directly, it is the demon that cannot be beaten. The title given to the demon who had all other demons bow to it as the most powerful. It is indeed a self-given title, one that is contested all the time, a title that both Orcus and Grast would refuse to utter, but a real title with a real, tangible power. Quote, Demogorgon's minions are the demons of the Abyss. While not all demons view him as their master, all demons, if begrudgingly, acknowledge him as their prince. In many cases, the chaotic nature of demonkind urges rebellion and hatred against Demogorgon, yet most of those who stray too close to his proximity find themselves his slaves. Many demons have embraced this lure and served him as faithfully as any demon can. End quote. This is where the real power of the Prince of Demons come from. It is a real, tangible ability that has been granted upon Demogorgon that effectively helps him control other demons. This is, in fact, one of his most powerful features. It is weird that demons are all about summoning other demons. You can, in fact, see this on most of the demon entries in 5th edition, yet the Prince of Demons himself was not granted that in 5th edition, this feature which he is always meant to have. More so than that, and more to the point, Demogorgon has what they call an aura of demonic command. Any demon that gets close to 120 feet of him cannot take any action that Demogorgon himself does not approve of. Demons that get in his presence effectively become his slaves. This means that other demon lords cannot simply swarm him with hordes of minions in order to kill him. A demon lord would have to personally kill him to steal his power one-on-one, something that no one else has been able to do. So what other powers does he have? Demogorgon's tentacles have the ability to forcefully rot anything they touch. A mere slap of his tentacles in your arm and your arm will fall off in mere minutes. A single strike on your body and you might permanently lose decades of your life as your insides lose their vigor and rot from within. Demogorgon's tail is forked, which is actually kind of important. The entry in 5th edition didn't mention it at all, which is strange because the symbol of Demogorgon is a Y, and that is the case for a reason. It is a Y because of the forked tail, not because of any of his other tentacles. The tail is one of his most dangerous weapons because a hit from it drains your power, reducing your effectiveness while making Demogorgon stronger. You might be able to keep fighting as your body rots by the tentacle attacks, but a few touches of Demogorgon's tail and you won't be able to hold your blade anymore, and he will be all the more powerful. Demogorgon's gazes are also quite terrifying since each individual head has its own power. Amael, the left head, can stupefy you, leaving you simply paralyzed, stunned, or overall just out of it. Heterodia, Demogorgon's right head, can confuse you with its gaze, making you see things that are not there, attack things that don't exist, and even potentially harm your very own friends. But the strongest effect happens when both heads work together and perform a simultaneous gaze that effectively forces you to dance at Demogorgon's will. You become his puppet, forced to contend to his whims as he controls your every move. These powers are all great in their own way, from rotting people to controlling them to summoning and enslaving demons, but his greatest asset, actually, is that there are two of them. Demogorgon is not just one creature, but two stuck in the body of one. Amael and Heterodia, two different entities that are forced to live in the same demonic body. The reason Demogorgon has succeeded where others have failed is not because of all of those other incredible powers, it's because two heads are literally better than one. Demogorgon can take two actions in a round because each head acts individually. Each head has its own agenda, its own plans and missions and goals, and its own ability to act. Do you know what challenge rating Demogorgon had in 3rd edition? He was a CR 33 monster, mostly because he could act twice every round. Amael controls the left side of the body and Heterodia controls the right side. Further, each head performs different strategies in combat and performs differently. For example, Amael is more charismatic and calculating, when Demogorgon needs to lay out complex plans, interact with other powerful beings, or lead his armies and address his minions. It is Amael who does the majority of the talking. Heterodia is more savage, feral, impulsive, generally incapable of plotting anything beyond the immediate, but it is the wrath of Demogorgon. Thing is, both heads are their greatest enemies as well, as they each believe that they could do and be so much more without the other. Yet neither truly believes that they could live on without the other. If any of the heads were to perish, the other would perish as well. Quote, Amael and Heterodia are each unable to control the other, because each is in truth an aspect of the other, and nor could one slay the other without also perishing. Still, Amael seeks a way to be free of and eventually usurp his other half, for selfishness and jealousy in a demon knows no bounds. Heterodia is too concerned with the effect such a separation would have on all his dread accomplishments to seriously consider the notion of living alone. Demogorgon has kept his two heads together so far. He does not want to jeopardize the position and power that they have attained. End quote. Inside the Prince of Demons rages a secret war for control over himself. By most definitions, this eternal conflict would be described as insanity. But that would be applying inappropriate mortal standards to one whom such standards can never apply. But to the ones where this could apply are his cultists, who many times do grow demented. Quote, temples to Demogorgon often reflect the dual nature of the Prince of Demons. The builders construct each temple symmetrically. One half is dedicated to Amael and the other is to Heterodia. Priests, warriors, petitioners, and other functionaries dwell in whichever side of the temple better fits their personalities. A grand cathedral unites the two halves at the center." End quote. Within this cult, there is an obsession with the concept of a dual personality, or to reflect the duality of their lord, to the point where cultists make an effort to kidnap twins and raise them within the cult so that they may lead said cult, with each twin reigning over one half of the organization. Eventually, however, as it is also the nature of their lord, the cult eventually always falls into infighting as one half fights the other. What actually goes on beyond the doors of these organizations, however, is as demented as one can imagine, for the sacrifices and rituals needed to appease not just a demon lord, but the prince of demons himself are quite graphic and brutal. First of all, sacrifices empower Demogorgon, and it is the preferred way to serve him as a cultist. This would involve the sacrifice of the innocent, though specifically those who would be enemies of the demon lord. Included in this list would be good aligned clerics, paladins, and rangers who devote their lives to the destruction of all things demonic. These would be his favorites. The way it works is these people would be kidnapped, taken into a ritual room, and then a demon follower of Demogorgon would be summoned so that the demon himself would do the killing. It has to be the demon. The person to be sacrificed would then be split in half by the middle by the demon. This ritual is very specific in the way it is done, and it is done so because the result is quite special and unique. See, those that are sacrificed in this way by the cultist of Demogorgon have their souls directly sent into the gaping maw, the layer of the abyss that Demogorgon controls. This is one of the only known ways to bypass the traditional wheel of death that governs the multiverse, or specifically, it is one of the only ways to force an innocent person who has done no evil or nothing wrong to be sent directly to a layer of evil in the outer planes. Normally, you would have to be evil to be sent down there, or have your soul be sold to a devil, or something along those lines. Demogorgon has found a way to break the wheel and force souls directly into his realm for him to then control. This is why the capital city that exists within his lair is one of the most populated ones in the entirety of the Abyss. This is a power that other demon lords do not have, and one that they covet greatly. You might not think that this is quite that big of a deal, but it really is, because remember that not all souls are equal. Evil souls are aplenty. They are all that you can find on the Abyss. They have already been corrupted before they even make it to the realm, but good souls, innocent souls, those are precious. You can extract the most power from them, and because of that, they are extremely valuable in the soul trade. Night hags spend decades corrupting paladins to steal their powerful good souls, whilst Demogorgon can just kill them and take them. This makes Demogorgon not just physically powerful, but politically and economically powerful, which is huge. The shocking part, though, is that as messed up as that sounds, the rituals that the cultists do to each other in order to gain power and better positions within the organization are even more foul. We are now entering into that part of D&D lore, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to straight up quote the lore. Quote, "Rituals involving their own faithful are no less reprehensible. Worshippers of Demogorgon often partake of drug-fueled violent orgies or mass murders, all in the name of the Prince of Demons. One of the most disturbing of these rituals is the Feast of the Self, in which a prospective thrall of Demogorgon must offer themselves to a conjured demon, allowing the demon to use their body for whatever nameless lusts that demon desires. This portion of the ritual damages the participant's body and mind. When over, the demon rewards the hopeful thrall by opening the participant's skull with a claw and scooping out a small portion of brain. The demon eats the brain matter and then regurgitates it into the aspirant's mouth for consumption. In this manner, by devouring one's own brain, symbolizing the split in Demogorgon's own mind, an initiate becomes a thrall of Demogorgon. Many do not survive this ritual." End quote. The reality is that the people that follow a being like Demogorgon have to be, by definition, the worst of society, the most depraved, the ones with the least to lose, and the ones who have already lost their minds. In any case, these cultish organizations never last long for the obvious reason already mentioned. They just fight each other all the time. Instead, where you truly find strong gatherings of Demogorgon supporters tend to be in aquatic races, specifically those of the scaly kind. You see a lot of lizardfolk, troglodytes, and even Yuan-Ti who readily follow the Prince of Demons, but his most ardent race of followers are the Isixeshal, a race of evil and intelligent manta rays that live underwater. Why Demogorgon favored these manta rays so much is very much unknown, but sages speculate that whenever these vampiric rays bite their targets, that energy that is absorbed is then sent directly to the Demogorgon, making him stronger. Hence, he rewards the Isixeshals with demonic power in exchange. Now, because most of his supporters are underwater and far away from humanoid civilization, cultists of Demogorgon are not seen as a real threat, which is how Demogorgon likes it. But the question is, why underwater creatures? What is all this affinity with aquaticness? Maybe it is just me, but whenever I think of Demogorgon or see Demogorgon, I don't immediately assume water demon. Yet, there is a lot of that. You probably didn't know, but in 2nd edition, Demogorgon was classified as a water deity. Quote, worshippers of Demogorgon are more likely to be scaly things that hide from the light than humans or members of other civilized races. Despite his stature in the abyss, the vast majority of the material plane is blissfully ignorant of his existence, yet they know his works, if only indirectly. The troglodytes worship him as Amun-Ibor, the sibilant beast, and use his teachings to bring vile intelligence and fanatism to the beasts of the wild. Yuan-Ti know him as Yosivash, and raise great temples to him in sunken caverns. The unknowable Isixeshals are his chosen minions on the material plane, and even they dare not speak his name aloud. End quote. See, there's a title that he possesses that you won't find on Out of the Abyss or on Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Hell, you won't find this title even on the wiki. In his realm in the Abyss, he is known as the Lord of all that swims in darkness. His realm is a combination of marshes, bogs, swamps, and jungles, and an enormous saltwater sea. Whatever your idea of him might have been, it probably wasn't. He is a demon of jungles and water, not of caves or of fires. Such is the case that he would have already dominated the Krakens into servitude if they just weren't such poor minions. In fact, he has a lot of Kraken servitors in his realm. But then again, there's probably a lot that you wouldn't think would come from one such as Demogorgon, one shown as such a mad, rabid beast. Thing is, Demogorgon is a creative and innovative creature, extremely smart and powerful. He has created and formulated many spells and monsters, memes aside, some of which will definitely shock you. Demogorgon invented the concept of Death Knights. Like, literally, it is in the lore that the very first Death Knight was created by Demogorgon, using a secret ritual and magics devised by him. The Death Knight is called Lord Kargoth, who currently resides in the Gaping Maw and is described as being the most loyal servant of Demogorgon and the first Death Knight. This ability to create Death Knights, however, was stolen and reproduced by others after that, but it is believed that Death Knights created by Demogorgon are particularly powerful when compared to others. Now, that's cool and all, but that's not his only creation. In Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, there is a creature called the Retriever, which is a CR-14 large construct with a particularly powerful ability. The Retriever can track anything or anyone within the Abyss. No one can escape its tracking abilities. Well, this book claims that it was created by the Drow, but that's not what previous lore says. Previous lore says that originally it was invented by Demogorgon. Let's read the first paragraph NT for the Chimera on the 5th edition Monster Manual. It says, quote, "Chimeras were created after mortals summoned Demogorgon to the world. The Prince of Demons, unimpressed with the creatures that surrounded it, transformed them into horrific multi-headed monstrosities. This act gave rise to the first chimeras," end quote. It goes on and on. Demogorgon has a unique ability to create and morph creatures into those that fit his designs. Some believe that this has to do with his dominion over certain demons that can shape flesh. Others believe that it comes with him being the Prince of Demons, but Demogorgon himself claims that it is simply his power as the first Tenari to be born. Indeed, you also might not know this, but Demogorgon was the very first evil soul that made it into the Abyss, the first one to turn into a Tenari demon as we know them today. But that is a story for another day. Know this though, Demogorgon is a master item crafter and creature creator, and there's so much about him that you probably don't know. In our next video, we will talk about his realm, the 88th layer of the Abyss called the Gaping Maw. We will talk about his personal connections with some of the other demon lords, we will talk about his lovers, and perhaps even touch a little on Demogorgon reproduction. So, if you ever wondered how many demons could Demogorgon muster for an invasion of the Prime, then stay tuned. Our next video should be coming out next week, and we will do part 2 of Demogorgon. Next, after that, we will continue our series on the Outer Planes with either the Plane of Air or the Plane of Water. So please guys, if you enjoy when I do these long videos about topics like these, please make sure to like the video and leave a comment. It lets me know that these are the topics that you like. If you truly want to know about how Demogorgon reproduces, please make sure that you leave a like and a comment to let me know. Alright guys, before I go into my patrons, just a big shout out to MacLeod, who made this beautiful outro picture for the channel. I'm going to be using this picture now for, hopefully for a while, for my outro, because before you guys obviously know this, I've been kind of using, you know, whatever art that looks fancy about the topic that we're talking about. But for now, we're going to have this. I think it looks awesome, so if you guys want to check her out, then all of the links are going to be in the description. Her name is MacLeod, that's the name she goes for, her art name, on Twitter, Instagram, and ArtStation, so make sure to go ahead and check her out. I would like to personally thank my Patreon supporters, 5E Magic Shop, Barry Maskant, Morgan Johnson, Rusty Rain, Biotechnofrag, Dogfeeder, Walker Motley, The Great Codini, Terry Kolb, Omega Scales, Ozol, Alex Cookson, Benjamin Bosters, Falky951, Ordoric, Prince Daylight Morning Crown, Sabine Kurshab, Solarensis, Thomas Hunt, Chad Aga, Stephen, Bushido Burrito, Nathan McComb, Soulless Rider, Werewolf and Games, Lost Crusader, Mr. Salty, Stalia, JD Green, Olaf Klepp, Trev909, Tony RC, Famine52, George Fotland, Sovereign Mind, Trevor Hess, Draglogia5, Hustur, Ziren King, Michael Walker, The Living Guild Pack, Streblo, Herbert Johnson, Describe, Dragon19, Guy97, and James the Perverted for supporting me on Patreon at the $25 level. If you would like to support me as well, then please head on over to patreon.com/MrRex to support. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, thank you guys so much for being here, and see you all next time on part 2. Bye-bye.